meeting to order, and I'll begin with our land acknowledgement. I'd like to begin by acknowledging that we are in Mi'kma'ki and the district of Sabaganagadi, the ancestral and unceded territory. East Hants further acknowledges the 50 African Nova Scotian communities whose 400-year history have contributed to the province's culture, history, and legacies. We are all treaty people. Next, we will have a moment of silent contemplation. Next, I would be looking for the approval of or amendments to the agenda. The CAO has asked if there is time before the hour of adjournment, if we could have a short in-camera meeting over a contractual issue, if there's time prior to the hour of adjournment, if that's agreed by the mover. Do we have a second? Seconded. Moved and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary? Motion is carried. Next, I'd be looking for the approval of the minutes of January 16th, 2024 Council Policy and in-camera, and January 24th, 2024 regular meeting of Council.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary? Motion is carried. Next, we have correspondence for information. This has been before you, councillors. Are there any items of particular interest that anyone wants to bring forward? Seeing none, we'll move to correspondence for decision. The first item is yes, the Rawdon and Mount Uniacke RCMP update. And I'm not sure. Kim, are you taking that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just going to pull it up here. So, councillors, after your Police Advisory Committee meeting last week, there was some discussion at Police Advisory about the Rawdon office and the hours of operation. Following that, the staff sergeant and I touched base the following day. He had visited Rawdon that afternoon and wanted to let me know about the hours of operations and that he was going to start to make changes back to the Monday to Friday, I think it's 8:30 to 4 or 7 to 3, I think is the hours. When he was talking to the person out in Rawdon, she had indicated that there's quite a bit of traffic in the extended workday that she has. There's quite a bit of traffic before work and after work for those folks, and they stop in. And she thought they appreciated, even though they were open only 4 days a week, that time in the morning and afternoon was important to folks who use the services they offer. So what I suggested to him is that he send an email that council could decide before he starts to undo everything that's been done over since COVID and go back to that 5-day work week. I suggested that we check in with council to make sure that the level of service that you want is 5 days with this outline of the 4-day work week. If that's something you want, then he would keep sort of the status quo of what's there now. But before he undid everything, I just thought we would check in with council and see if the 4-day work week was something that you thought was good for your residents, or whether you wanted to go back to the 5-day work week, and then I can get back to him and let him know. Either way, 4 days or 5 days, the hours remain the same. And there's information in his email about how the model is working, which again, the person who works at the Rawdon and Uniacke office feels that people do get benefit from being there for those extended hours. But he recognized that that would be a decision of council. Thank you.
Councilor Gordon-Cole.
Actually, I'm not referring to this. I was referring to a item which is under correspondence for info, but also correspondence for information when I clicked on that I wanted to bring up. So it's not actually about this. And
Maybe we'll come back when we're finished with this item.
thank you.
Seeing no one, I would ask the deputy warden if he would take the chair.
Go ahead, Warden.
Yeah, I understand what's been said, but unfortunately, that's not what I'm hearing from members of the public when they show up there on a Monday and the office is closed. And I did take the initiative to review the hours of other RCMP detachments. Enfield is open from 7 to 5, Monday to Friday. And I will say anyone who's traveling home from work from Halifax stands a much better chance of coming through Enfield and being there by 5 than they do Rawdon. That's been my experience when I worked in the city anyway. The office in Windsor is open from 8 to 4. Colchester, Bible Hill is 8 to 5, Monday to Friday. These are all Monday to Friday. Stewiacke is open 8 to 4 on Mondays and Tuesdays, and Tatamagouche 8 to 4 on Mondays and Tuesdays. Musquodoboit is 8 to 4, Monday to Friday. Lower Sackville is 8 to 4, Monday to Friday. And Cole Harbour and Upper Tantallon are both 8 to 4, Monday to Friday. So it just seemed to me that the standard for the most detachments seemed to be 8 to 4. And the only detachment that's actually opened at 7 is the one in Enfield. Just living in the community and having heard the public discussion, I would like to see the office was open in Rawdon Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday, and in Mount Uniacke on Thursday. And I would like to see us go back to that schedule. Now, if they want to adjust the hours, 8 to 4, 9 to 5. What if they feel those hours would be better? I don't have a particular problem with that. If they think that would work better, but I just think there is a lot of discussion around the community now about the RCMP office and the perceived use or lack thereof of the office, and I just think it's important that people see that it is available 5 days a week. And as I said, the Enfield office is open from 7 to 5. If there is a desire for them to be open later, I wouldn't object to 9 to 5 if that worked for them. But it would be my preference that they return to being open on Mondays as well. Thank you.
Warden. Councilor Perry.
Thank you, Deputy Warden. I have no issue with them reopening, but the pre-COVID hours of 7 to 3, that was the biggest complaint I had pre-COVID was, at 7 o'clock in the morning, when you're in Mount Uniacke, everybody's working in the city. They're long past to get into work before 7, and 3 o'clock, nobody's home by 3. So a lot of some of those hours were very hard to meet. I do recognize the 5 o'clock hour does work much more convenient for a lot of people in the area. And, I believe even if it was a standard 8 to 4, you can adjust either way. But I wouldn't want to see the hours go back to 7 to 3 because I think you'd see less use and uptake and especially visibility. School gets out around 2:30, 3 o'clock. It's a high traffic area. I would prefer at least go, a 9 to 5 or something like that. But I mean, that would be negotiated between the CAO and the RCMP. But it'd be my preference to see the hours remain later into the day rather than early in the morning. Thank you.
Councilor Rhino.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Warden. Just through you to CAO, could they consider or rearrange this so that they could have one night a week, maybe a 5 to 7 built in for people that are coming from work and need paperwork done and things like that. I just wonder if that could be a consideration.
Through you, Deputy Warden, that would be something that would have to be left up to the RCMP between them and their employee hours, and the union would have to weigh in on that, I'm sure. I can make the suggestion, but I'm not sure that we can weigh in on that level of detail.
I guess anybody that are going there for paperwork and things like that, either you're gonna have to take a day off or what, you know, and that's a costly for most people. And where they could, if they could consider a 5 to 7, that would give a chance, one night a week, that would give a chance to get people in there, and then maybe people would start, they're starting to use it more. It would give it more presence when people are home. Thank you.
Warden Rolston.
Well, I would make a motion that we correspond with the RCMP and ask that they go back to the 5 days a week, with one of those days being in Mount Uniac, and ask if we could negotiate the hours. At the end of a day, that's what it'll be, is a negotiation, but I think the CAO has heard the conversation, and she could have a conversation with Staff Sergeant Balmaceda and see if one evening a week opening would be possible, and whether or not we could go 9 to 5 or 8 to 4, whatever. I would agree with Councillor Perry that 7 to 3 is not a particularly, that early in the morning in my community is not particularly useful to anyone. And people would be struggling to get back to the community by 5 to go there, much less by 3. So those are my comments, and so that's the motion I'm making.
We have a mover, we have a seconder.
Second.
Seconded by Councillor Perry. Any discussion on the motion? Question's been called. We'll go to the vote. And the motion is passed unanimously. I'll turn the chair back to you, Warden.
Thank you, Deputy Warden. All right. I'm going to go back to Councillor Garden Cole, who says there is an item that appears on both lists.
Well, actually, it's correspondence for information. It can wait till next month, if that would be better.
We can go back to correspondence.
Okay,
for
so it's
information.
item 30. And it's a letter that we all received from, local people who were concerned about there were just some staggering numbers in there about the lack of childcare in East Hants. And that was just within kind of the corridor area, almost 600 people on wait lists for childcare, which is a really, as I say, a staggering amount. And it touches on the fact that where we are one of the fastest growing, communities and municipalities in East Hants. I just see this every day with people who are struggling for childcare, and whether it's your children or your grandchildren or whatnot, I think everybody is touched by the issue. And what they are most concerned about is that the initiatives and what the government is putting forth are only for the nonprofit model. And I think 60% of childcare is for profit. And that's just the reality of it. And it's necessary to have that all those for-profit spaces. They're just hoping that they can come to some better arrangement for trying to make more spaces available, first of all, and secondly, people benefiting from it, Nova Scotians benefiting from it, not just through nonprofit, but through profit as well, because the majority, over 50%, are profit right now in Nova Scotia. So I just, I really feel strongly about what the residents have, and these are local business people as well in our community, and I think they're speaking on behalf of hundreds of families that, looking if we might be able to support this. I see where the MP and the MLA have supported this, and if we might be willing to, send a letter, just, maybe not pinpointing what it is that we are looking for, but that we are in a childcare crisis in our municipality, and we're looking, I'm sure if we added up the numbers from Mount Uniac and all of the areas that, they'd be even larger than that, and that we are, hoping that the government will support our need for childcare in the municipality.
Thank you, Counselor, and it's certainly, it's a concern everywhere. It's an issue everywhere, even in the rural area. People are struggling to find childcare. So, I'm not sure.
Well, I didn't word it very eloquently, but I'm sure that somebody can.
Did you want to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that, the warden or staff, someone puts together a letter just supporting the need, the crisis for childcare in East Hants, and the need for I guess them to look further to try and solve that, to look further than what they are doing to try and solve it.
And this would go to both the provincial and federal governments?
Yes, yeah, and they were very gracious in sending all the people, the necessary people to send this to.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? CAO.
Just point of clarification, Councilor Garden Cole, your letter, do you want it to focus on urging the government to look at different models of the for-profit and not-for-profit daycare? Like, that's sort of where the
I
letter.
definitely would like it to
Okay.
to be that specific.
Okay.
Counselor Perry.
Full support of the motion. Yeah, when pre-primary opened up in a lot of the rural areas, the rural schools, the majority of people that ended up going to those jobs were the people who were doing home care in those communities. And those home care daycares, started to go away, and it just increased that need throughout all of the communities. So I fully support this letter. Thank you.
You ready for the question? Question's been called. And the motion is passed unanimously. And I was remiss when we started the meeting. Counselor Tingley is not with us today. He is out of the country for a family event. Counselor Musa.
Thank you, Madam Warden. Since we went back to the correspondence for info, item 77, copy of correspondence from Councillor Pam Lovelace. I want to ask John if we send a letter of support, is it I know this thing is beneficial, very beneficial for Mount Uniac. Like, if it happened, I know it's a long shot, but if we could send a letter of support or something like that, because.
Thank you, Warden. You could. I guess my caution would be the route that, it looks like it goes right through the middle of the Pockwalk watershed. So, I mean, if you want to send a letter suggesting it be investigated, maybe that would be more appropriate, but.
Yeah, just a letter of support,
Yeah.
like, because I know it's a long shot to happen, but if it happened, it would open like a lot the avenue for Mount Uniac, like, as a connection, and especially the business park, like, cutting a lot of traveling. Thank you.
So are you making a motion that we send a letter supporting the investigation of
Yeah.
the suggestion? Is that okay, John? Do we have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor McPhee. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Question.
Question's been called. And the motion is passed unanimously. Okay, back to our correspondence for decision. We are asked to select the delegation for the 2024 Nova Scotia Federation of Municipalities Spring Conference, which is being held on May 8th to 10 in Bedeck. So I would open the floor for counselors who might be available to attend that conference. Don't everybody jump at once. Yes, Counselor Tingley has expressed an interest, Counselor Eisner, Counselor Perry.
Do we have a proposed agenda for this yet?
No. And it is some time out. I mean, we can reserve the rooms and that and wait till close to the end of the early bird registration to actually register when perhaps we have.
I'll put my name in for now. I'd like to see the agenda to make sure that, going up there, there's things there that are relevant that I want to attend for the municipality. Thank you.
And Counselor McPhee.
Yeah, thank you, Warden. Yes, I'll put my name forward but if there are other counselors that would like to go, I'll certainly stand aside, but I certainly would attend.
Counselor Mitchell.
Thank you, Madam Warden. I'll put my name forward, and depending on the numbers, if there's too many, I'll withdraw.
And I do normally attend as warden, so I would be intending to do that. How many does that make, Shirley? That makes 7. We have place for 5.
The warden and I go.
Yeah, myself and Kim go. And then we have Counselor McPhee, Counselor Eisner, Counselor Mitchell, Counselor Perry, and Counselor Tingley. Counselor Hebb.
Thank you, Warden. Previous years, we used to get a list of who went the previous years before that, so we could have it recognized that, if somebody's gone 2 or 3 years in a row, and if there's somebody else that didn't know. The last couple of times, I know the Federation of Municipalities, we didn't have that, and we didn't have it for this one. So I think for me, that's vitally important to see, if there's any councils that haven't gone, that would be the persons that I would like to see prior to another one.
This is the first time in a number of years we have had the full complement interested in going, to be honest.
We can bring a list for next.
But we can bring a list for next time. Certainly, that can be done. Yeah. So we do have those names. It won't be official till we get the list, and the list may well be pared down. Counselor Mitchell.
Oh, I was just following up on Counselor Hebb's. If you have a number to cover what's listed there, then I'll withdraw. I didn't go last year to either, but.
Well, we'll get the list and see who did. I don't recall off the top of my head who went last year, to be honest with you, but if there are those who went, yeah. Shirley has the list. And I think for many years, the process was the warden and the CAO attend and 3 other members of council. And that allowed for every member of council to have an opportunity during the term.
It's hard doing all the jobs, isn't it?
Yes, I did one of these conferences virtually via Zoom during COVID.
Never again.
No, it was not It was not really enjoyable or pleasant. So last year, Counselor Tingley, Counselor McPhee, myself, and the CAO went. The year before, Counselor Tingley, Counselor Eisner went. Counselor McPhee had intended to go and had to cancel. And the year before that, myself, the CAO, Counselor Mitchell, and Counselor Perry went. No, that was FCM,
yeah.
sorry, I'm reading FCM here.
So this is the one we're looking at now.
Last year, this particular one was.
So last year, Counselor Tingley, can we go back down there again?
So that was the fall. So
Oh,
this is last
it.
spring.
Okay, so Counselor Tingley and Counselor McPhee went last year, along with the warden and myself, and Counselor Eisner. So then, in the year before that, Eisner and Mitchell went. So, yeah, so by that list, I would suggest that, wanting to be fair, Counselor McPhee and Counselor Tingley both went last year. So, and Counselor Eisner. So that should open the floor up for Counselor Perry and Counselor Mitchell. And then the three of you for the other one would have to figure it. Yeah. We have room for one more, because if there are five, there's you and I and three counselors. But we only have budget for five.
And you had your reserve if you want more.
So we could send six. We generally send five. It's budgeted for five. There are 6 rooms currently reserved. What is your wish, ladies and gentlemen?
I will always draw my.
I'm just looking here. Let's go back a couple of years then and see. So Counselor McPhee did not attend. Well, that was the fall.
I've only attended one.
Okay. And Counselor Eisner has attended how many in the last 2 or 3 years? He attended in 22. Okay. Sorry, Tom, I think you're out of luck then.
How about Councilor Tingley?
No, Counselor Tingley has 2.
And Counselor Tingley has attended. He attended in,
Not this spring.
no, he did the fall of 22. No, he didn't. That's FCM. Yeah, Counselor Tingley did the fall, and he did the spring last year. So Counselor McPhee has attended only one NSFM conference, correct?
Yes.
So then I think of those who have attended within the last couple of years. Does that seem fair to everyone? Counselor Perry, Counselor Mitchell, and Counselor McPhee, myself, and the CAO. And if you want to send any more than that, we do have reserves. That would be up to council. Someone prepared to make a motion? Deputy Warden.
I move that we send the warden, the CAO, Counselor Perry, Counselor McPhee, and Counselor Mitchell to the spring conference in Badek.
Do we have a seconder? Seconded by Counselor Musa. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Question.
Question's been called. And the motion is passed unanimously. Next item is a temporary borrowing resolution around a land acquisition for the water utility. Who's taking this one? Wade. Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this was just a boring resolution that we had already had in place previously for $5.5 million. And when the province provides that approval, they only provide it for 1 year, and it just expired a month or so ago. So we did end up acquiring that land, but at a much lower price. And with the all-in cost, we're now looking for a new boring resolution of $3.3 million, and with the intention of boring funds in the spring of this year via debenture. And that's what we're looking for, Madam Chair.
Okay, someone prepared. Councillor Musa.
Thank you, Madam Warden. I'll move the recommended motion.
Do we have a seconder?
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? Question has been called. And the motion is passed unanimously. Moving along. We have a request letter from Kathy and Stephen Ross and Barbara and Austin Brennan to purchase lot 12 at 23 Canavan Drive. Adam.
Good evening, Madam Warden. So in front of you, there's in your correspondence tonight, there is a request letter for lot 12, as you mentioned, also known as 23 Canavan Drive in Mount Uniacke from the neighboring property owners. It's an unsolicited request that's come forward to council. And I'll just note that council has a motion that was made last October, motion C23-347, which was really looking at all of the lands in Mount Uniacke from a current use and disposal review. So what we would suggest to council tonight is that you would just accept this as part of the larger review that's taking place, and it would be brought back through that process as well. I will just note that I have spoken, I did email both the neighboring landowners in the letter. Right after it was received, I spoke to Miss Ross as well twice, as recently as last week, and let her know that council is reviewing all of the land in Mount Uniacke as a larger project, and advised her that that was the case. So anyways, the letter's in front of you tonight, and you could move to accept it as part of the larger review. Thank you.
Councillor Perry.
I will move to accept this as part of the larger review.
Seconded by Councillor Mitchell. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Question.
Question has been called. Somebody hasn't voted.
Eli's over the room.
So the motion has passed unanimously by those present in the room. Okay. Correspondence and invoice from Nova Scotia Federation of Municipalities regarding 2024 membership dues. Kim, are you taking that one?
Through you, Madam Warden, we have received our annual dues for the Nova Scotia Federation of Municipalities. The total dues for the NSFM is $14,550. They've also, this is the invoice where the Association of Municipal Administrators bills through to municipalities for professional services that they offer to the administrators of Nova Scotia. That's $2,361. This is a modest increase of 2% on the NSFM bills from last year. There is a table included for your information on the increases that have happened over the last number of years since 2018. And normally we would pay these as they come in. The last few years where there were significant increases in invoices, we've been bringing them to council. So this one is within budget, and again, a modest 2.2% increase over last year's amount. And that part is only on the NSFM part. The AMA fees haven't changed since 2019.
So any discussion or someone prepared to move the motion? Councillor Rhino.
I was just wondering, if I'm correct in remembering that there was some some discussion around value for dollar around that, because if I'm correct, I do remember, I thought the warden had expressed some concern with regard around that value of that. So I'm just wondering if that concern is still valid.
Well, the NSFM have recently changed their entire model of governance. I will be honest and say I didn't vote in favor of that change, but the majority of the membership did. So I guess I would have to say that they have done good work in the past for municipalities, and they do provide a united voice for municipalities in the province. And I would be prepared to give them a fair chance to see if the new governance model indeed does work as well as the majority of people feel that it's going to work. I'll still be watching. Deputy Warden.
I would move that we pay the fees to the Nova Scotia Federation Municipality as presented.
Seconded by Councillor Hale. Is there any discussion? Question's been called. And the motion is passed unanimously. And I believe that concludes correspondence for decision. Next, we will go to Adam for details on the Meadowview Way open space disposal update. Over to you, Adam.
Thank you, Madam Warden. So just a bit of background on this file for council as a refresher. Back in December of 2022, a report was brought forward recommending that council declare PID 45354677 on Meadowview Way in Belknap surplus for disposal. That's an open space parcel that's on a full open space parcel. At that time, council did hear from the neighboring property owners, and the neighboring property owners had spoken or had communicated with council. They weren't in favor of disposing of the whole PID. And during that conversation, when council defeated the motion, council had noted that staff will be bringing back options to look at alternative ways to dispose of the property, not necessarily the whole property, but a portion thereof. So in November of 2023, the Parks Rec Culture Committee of council reviewed additional options for subdividing a piece of that land to allow connectivity for public safety, for operational improvements for connectivity, and also for open space connectivity. So from there, in January of 2024, council did provide direction to staff to proceed with the open space disposal process under the Municipal Government Act and through the municipal planning strategy. And a total of 78 notices went out to residents in the area according to your MPS. And also it was advertised in, I believe, the February the 6th edition of the Chronicle Herald to align with the Municipal Government Act requirements. So council is bringing this back, and there's a recommended motion that's from council to declare this property, not the whole property, a portion of the property surplus. And then that would also, the funds from that have been associated with the value of that piece would go into your open space funds for that area to recognize that initially the land was donated under the premise of open space. So instead of the land, the cash value would go in, and that's part of the motion, which is valued at the $2,100, be transferred into the open space reserve from the transportation reserve.
12,000.
Oh, sorry, 12,100. Thank you. So that is the report, and council's recommendation is in front of you.
Thank you, Adam. Is someone prepared to move the motion? Councillor Mitchell.
Thank you, Madam Warden. Speaking towards the open space, we all received an email from some residents about keeping the open space and not following through by subdividing. I had three calls today about the safety factor dealing with Ridgewood Court, that it would provide them a second exit if we had a wildfire situation that was in other areas of the province. So to me, it's a safety issue, and I'll move the recommended motion as presented.
Do we have a seconder? Second. Seconded by Counselor Perry. Is there any discussion on the motion? Counselor Rhino.
I remember when this was brought up, there was many people that spoke against it. And I see that letters have gone out. I don't know, I can't pinpoint this, but something makes me feel very uncomfortable about this. And especially when last time a person sat in the back, one of our staff said this will be back. So I just can't pinpoint it, but I cannot support this motion.
Well, I would say council did instruct staff to bring it back.
And I think I voted against it.
Counselor Musa.
How many, I know we received a couple letters on our email, so how many letters you get back from?
Through you, Madam Warden, 78 letters were mailed out. My name and my contact information was provided on the letter to residents. I received 2 phone calls. One phone call with from a resident that was opposed to this proceeding forward, and I believe I saw some correspondence that council may have received as well from that household. And I received the second call from a resident that was really trying to understand the intent and really just trying to be more informed of the process. And it was a really neutral call once I walked through kind of the process. So I received 2. I'm not sure what council's received. And yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Any further discussion?
Question.
The question's been called. Well, the motion has been defeated by a vote of 6-4. With Deputy Warden Green, Councillor Hebb, Councillor Musa, Councillor Rhino, and Councillor Garden Cole, and Councillor Eisner voting nay. Okay. Next on our agenda is a ratification of acquisition of Giansante lands. And that would be CAO or Adam? Okay, Adam?
Through you, Madam Warden, you have on your screen a ratification of land acquisition in front of you that you've provided previously direction to the CAO to negotiate for the PID that's on the screen here, and it's really in front of council now to ratify this motion. Any member of council can make this motion.
Deputy Ward?
I would move that council authorize the CAO to enter into an agreement of purchase and sale for Lot C, portion of Highway 214, Elmsdale, PID 450-85289 for a purchase price of $2.1 million plus HST plus due diligence and transaction costs.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? Question's been called. And the motion is passed unanimously. Okay. Next, we have first reading of bylaw P-700-1, an amendment to bylaw P-700, the heritage property bylaw. And who's doing first reading? Councillor Mitchell.
Thank you, Madam Warden. First reading bylaw P-700-1, an amendment to bylaw P-700, heritage property bylaw. At the February 2024 Executive Committee meeting, staff provided a presentation with suggested updates to bylaw P-700 Heritage Property Bylaw. The Planning Advisory Committee supported the amendments. I move that council give first reading to the proposed bylaw P-700-1 and amendment to bylaw P 700, Heritage Property Bylaw. As chair of the committee, I so move.
Do we have a seconder? Seconded by Counselor Musa. Any discussion on the motion?
Question?
Question has been called. And the motion is passed unanimously. Next on our agenda is first reading of bylaw F-400-9, an amendment to bylaw F-400, the tax exemption bylaw. I'm assuming that Counselor Perry would be taking that.
Thank you, Madam Warden. First reading of bylaw F-400-9, an amendment to bylaw F-400, tax exemption bylaw. At the February 2024 Executive Committee meeting, staff presented a report outlining the results of the annual review of the tax exemption bylaw. 2 minor administration changes were recommended, including the addition of all PIDs related to the Lions Memorial Park and the deletion of the Shubenacadie Hall and Grounds Society as it's under new ownership and will receive a provincial exemption. Subsequent to the February 2024 Executive Committee meeting, another property came to the attention of the Director of Finance and the CAO for consideration of Council to add to the F-400 bylaw exemption list. This property is approximately 7 acres in size that was recently donated to the Uniacke and District Fire Department. Annual taxes would approximate $336. If Council supported, please proceed with the following updated motion. Move that Council give first reading to bylaw F-400-9, an amendment to bylaw F-400, tax exemption bylaw, and be amended to reflect the following changes. Add properties number 109767723 and 109767731, Lions Memorial Park Society. Remove 00889261, Shubenacadie Hall and Ground Society, and add 109-87512, Uniacke and District Fire Department. As chair of the committee, I so move.
Seconded by Counselor Musa. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Question?
A question has been called. And the motion is passed unanimously. Okay, that brings us to committee reports, and we will go back to Counselor Perry for corporate and residential services.
Thank you, Madam Warden. The committee held its budget meetings on January 20th, February 1st, February 8th, February 13th, February 15th, February 22nd, and the regular meeting on February 20th, 2024 in council chambers. The following motions are coming forward as a result of those meetings. Councilor Tingley, leave of absence. The Corporate Residential Service Committee recommends to Council that Counselor Walter Tingley be permitted a leave of absence to travel to New Zealand from February 12th to March 19th, 2024. As chair of the committee, I so move.
Seconded by Counselor Musa. Is there any discussion on the motion? Question's been called. And the motion is passed unanimously. Back to you, Counselor Perry.
Thank you, Warden. Hospital balloon debt payment. The Corporate Residential Service Committee recommends to Council the Council approve that the hospital balloon debt payment be issued $112,300 to be taken from year-end surplus. As chair of the committee, I so move.
Seconded by Counselor Hebb. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Question?
Question has been called. And the motion is passed unanimously.
Beautification Grant Fund. The Corporate Residential Service Committee recommends to Council the Council approve that the draft budget reflect an increase in the beautification budget to $3,000 from $2,000. The additional $1,000 to be available to councilors after the election. As chair of the committee, I so move.
Seconded by Counselor Mitchell. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Question?
Question has been called. The motion is passed by a vote of 9-1, with Counselor Musa voting nay. Back to you, Counselor Perry.
Shubenacadie parking lot. The Corporate and Residential Services Committee recommends to Council the Council direct staff include funding for annual operations of municipal parking in Shubenacadie PID 45330214, plus or minus 5,000 square feet, as part of the budget adjustment sheet for council discussion. As chair of the committee, I so move.
Seconded by Counselor McPhee. Is there any discussion on the motion? Question has been called. And the motion is passed unanimously.
The 2024 FCM Conference Delegation Selection for June 6 to 9. The Corporate and Residential Service Committee recommends to council the council approve the following delegation to attend the 2024 Federation of Canadian Municipalities Conference in Calgary, and that the associated costs will be funded from the 2024-2025 updated operating budget and reserves. Kim Ramsey, CAO, Warden Eleanor Rolston, Councillor Carl Maffei, Councillor Walter Tingley, Councillor Norval Mitchell, Councillor Sandra Garden-Cole, Councillor Tom Eisner, and Councillor Eli Musa. As chair of the committee, I so move.
Moved and seconded. Counselor Garden-Cole.
Thank you, Madam Warden. I think I gave notification shortly after that I was unable to attend. Thank you.
So the amendment would be that Counselor Garden-Cole's name would not be on this
No,
list.
would be removed.
Any further discussion?
Question.
Question has been called. Oh, Counselor Rhino. Sorry, I didn't see you. I will, oh, sorry.
Speaking against the motion, I am not in favor of sending extra people to this, especially even if the money's coming from reserve. I think that's money that should remain in reserve itself. So I will not be supporting the motion.
Thank you, Counselor. Any further discussion?
Question.
Question has been called. The motion is passed by a vote of 9-1 with Counselor Rhino voting nay. Back to you, Counselor Perry.
Pension cost certificate. The Corporate Residential Service Committee recommends to council the council approve the filing of December 31st, 2023 actuarial cost certificate attached to the February 20th, 2024 Executive Committee agenda. As chair of the committee, I so move.
Seconded.
Seconded by Deputy Warden. Is there any discussion on the motion? The question has been called. And the motion is passed unanimously.
2024-2025 Community Partnership Fund. The Corporate Residential Services Committee recommends to council the council approve the list of recommended Community Partnership Fund organizations to be included in the draft 2024-2025 budget and grants to be dispersed following final budget approval. Corridor Community Option for Adults, $15,000. East Hants Community Rider, $50,000. East Hants Family Resource Center, $20,000. East Hants Historical Society, $16,503. East Hants Sports Heritage Society, $5,000. East Hants Youth Links, $6,000. Kids in Action Annapolis Valley Hants Community Action Program, $10,000. As chair of the committee, I so move.
Seconded by Counselor Mitchell. Is there any discussion on the motion? Question has been called. And the motion has passed unanimously.
2024-2025 General Government Grants. The Corporate Residential Service Committee recommends to council that pending appropriate documentation is received and the passing of the 2024 budget, council approve the following general government grants for distribution in 2024-2025. Remembering Canada's Heroes, $1,000. Hants County Exhibition, $500. Dr. Snow Bursaries, $3,000. East Hants Food Bank / Christmas Program, Caring and Sharing, Hants North Food Bank, Shumalac, Indian Brook Food Bank, Uniac Wish Givers, Kids Action, Angel Tree Program, Hants County Christmas Angels for $7,000. The Coats Association, $2,000. Contingency available, $4,000. As chair of the committee, I so move.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Question.
Question has been called. The motion is passed unanimously.
The 2024-2025 Water Utility Budget. The Corporate Residential Services Committee recommends to council that council approve the East Hants Water Utility financial estimates for 2024-2025 to 2026-2027 as presented. As chair of the committee, I so move.
Second.
seconded by Counselor Musa. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Question?
Question has been called. And the motion is passed unanimously.
The 2024 to 2025 to 2028, 2029 five-year capital budget. The Corporate and Residential Service Committee recommends to Council that the five-year capital budget for the fiscal years 2024, 2025 to 2028, 29, as presented, be approved and adopted effective April 1st, 2024. Administration is given the approval to proceed with the previously approved capital projects and those in the approval sought section, subject to any conditions limiting such projects in previous motions of council or in policies of council. Should time permit, staff are authorized to embark on projects in this capital budget that require long-term pre-planning prior to April 1st, 2024. Project approved for further study are approved in principle only. Amounts identified as approved for further study cannot be expended prior to a presentation of a full report to council for consideration or approval through future capital budget process. Where time permits, staff are given approval to proceed with approval sought projects from 2024 or 2025, 2026 prior to April 1st, 2025. And that any projects approved in the 2023-2024 capital budget not reflected as carry forward to the 2024-2025 capital budget, but that are substantially committed at March 31st, 2024 shall be carried forward to the 2024-2025 based on the remaining budget at the March 31st, 2024. And that the five-year estimate of capital spending from the capital investment plan as required by the federal and provincial government funding agreements. And that the water utility sections of the budget are not permitted to stand alone as the East Hants Water Utility Capital Budget as required by the Nova Scotia Utility and Review Board. And that staff be given the authority to alter the sources of funding where necessary, but in no case shall the amounts be debitured increase without prior approval of council. And that council seek ministerial approval for temporary borrowing resolution for any amounts of this capital budget under the debenture debt category of funding. And that pre-approval to borrowing amounts in this capital budget under the debenture debt category of funding for a term not exceeding 25 years at a rate not to exceed 6.5%. As chair of the committee, I so move.
Seconded.
Do we have a seconder? Is there any discussion? Does anyone need that reread?
You get all that, Pat?
Seeing no discussion, are you ready for the question? The question's been called. And the motion is passed unanimously.
Review of other budget matters. Arrowhead Park Road request. The Corporate Residential Service Committee recommends to council deny the request from the Arrowhead Road Association to waive the 2024-2025 5% administration fee. As chair of the committee, I so move.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? Question has been called. The motion is passed by a vote of 9-1, with Councillor Musa voting nay.
The Corporate and Residential Service Committee recommends to council the council direct staff to prepare a report on the private road fee requirements for municipal staff to administer the collection of road dues to include a maximum fee based on either per lot or per road as seen by staff, so that there can be a fixed cost associated and they know their fixed cost. As chair of the committee, I so move.
Seconded by Councillor Hebb. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Question?
Question has been called. And the motion is passed unanimously.
As chair of committee, I move the adoption of this report.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary? Motion is carried. Go ahead. Next, we will go to the Planning Advisory Committee report. Councillor Mitchell.
Thank you, Madam Warden. I'm hoping that the first article I get through in the sequence is supposed to be done. I might need assistance from the director. The committee held its regular meeting on February 20, 2024 in council chambers. The following motions are coming forward as a result of that meeting. PLN 23-001 3230225, Nova Scotia Limited Cottage Country, MPS and LUB mapping amendments and development agreement for East Stewiacke.
Uniac. Uniac.
Oh, sorry, East Uniac. We're going up Carl's Way. Municipalities received an application from Cottage Country to change the land use designation and zones of lands adjacent to the existing Cottage Country development and consider entering in a development agreement. Planning Advisory Committee recommends to council that council authorize staff to schedule a public information meeting to consider an application for 3230225 Nova Scotia Limited Cottage Country to amend the MPS and LUB by changing the land use designation and zone of PID 451-47154, PID 451-47253, and PID 451-87242 to Rural Comprehensive Development District, RCDD, and to consider entering in a development agreement with the addition of PID 451-55314, PID 454-03144, PID 453-92602, and PID 451-55306 to permit a 550 dwelling unit bare land condominium development on 418 hectares of land with 24.6 hectares of multiple use development, commercial and residential. The radius of notification shall be extended to 6 kilometers, which is the Cottage Country application. As chair of the committee, I so move.
Seconded by Counselor Head. Counselor Perry.
I would like to propose an amendment to the motion and amend the motion that the radius of notification shall include all properties within 300 meters of the subject property and all properties accessed from the East Uniac Road.
You're moving an amendment?
I'm moving an
We have
amendment.
a seconder for the amendment.
Second.
Seconded by Counselor Musa. Any discussion on the amendment?
Question.
Question, this is on the amendment, folks. And the motion is passed unanimously. Now, to the amended motion. Is there any discussion on the amended motion?
Question?
Question has been called. And the motion is passed unanimously. Back to you, Counselor Mitchell.
Plan 24-001 Maple Tree Holdings Limited, redesignation and rezoning to Business Park, Mount Uniac. The municipality received an application from Maple Tree Holdings to redesignate and rezone a portion of their property in Mount Uniac. The rezoning will enable building with a floor area greater than permitted in the regional commercial zone. This initial report outlines the application and recommends that a public hearing be held.
Information meeting.
Information meeting be held. Planning Advisory Committee recommends that council authorize staff to schedule a public information meeting to consider proposal to change the designation and zone a portion of property identified PID 454-26301 for regional commercial RC to Business Park BP Maple Tree Holdings. As chair of the committee, I so move.
Do we have a seconder? Seconded by Counselor Head. Counselor Musa.
Thank you, Madam Warden. John, can you remind me, as of right now, how much square footage can they do with their property?
Through you, Madam Warden, I don't remember off the top of my head. I'd have to look at the bylaw, but they were, the change would allow them to increase, I think, by 20 or 30%, something like that.
So, okay.
Any further discussion? Question has been called. And the motion is passed unanimously. Back to you, Counselor Mitchell.
Public gravel roads motion C-22, bracket 349, and C-22, bracket 350. In October of 2022, planning staff presented a report to PAC on public gravel roads as part of the plan update. A second report was presented in relationship to C-322, bracket 350 in February 2024. Updates to the cost of servicing municipal streets were included in the report, as well as an option from where public gravel roads may be permitted. Planning Advisory Committee recommends to council that council maintain the current subdivision bylaw regulations that permit the construction of municipal public gravel roads outside of GMAs and GRAs. As chair of the committee, I so move.
Seconded.
Seconded by the deputy warden. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Question?
Question has been called. And the motion is passed by a vote of 8-2, with Councillor McPhee and Councillor Perry voting nay. Back to you, Councillor Mitchell.
Land use bylaw housekeeping amendments. Planning Advisory Committee recommend to council that council give first reading to the proposed land use bylaw housekeeping amendments and authorize staff to schedule a public hearing. As chair of the committee, I so move.
Seconded by Councillor Head. Is there any discussion on the motion? Question has been called. And the motion is passed unanimously.
As chair of the committee, I move the adoption of this report.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary, motion is carried. We will now move to infrastructure and operations report. Councillor Garden Cole.
The committee held its regular meeting on February 20th, 2024 in council chambers. The following policy-related motion is coming forward as a result of that meeting. First item, solid waste tipping fee policy. The current tipping fee schedule is set to expire March 31st, 2024. The solid waste tipping fee policy requires an update to set the new rates. The Infrastructure and Operations Committee recommends to Council that Council approve the 2-year solid waste tipping fee policy pricing schedule effective April 1st, 2024, expiring March 31st, 2026, and that Council approve the solid waste tipping fee policy with pricing schedule effective April 1st, 2024, expiring March 31st, 2026. As chair of the committee, I so move.
Seconded.
Seconded by the deputy warden. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Question.
Question has been called. And the motion is passed unanimously.
As chair of the committee, I move the adoption of this report.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary, motion is carried. Next, we will go to the Police Advisory Committee report. Over to you, Councillor Rhino.
Thank you, Madam Warden. The committee held its regular meeting on February 20th, 2024 in council chambers. No motions came forward as a result of the meeting, but I will give a summary. RCMP quarterly report. RCMP presented the quarterly report, which included an HR update, community policing, school officer, zone policing model, East Hants operations update. Discussions was held regarding crime in the business parks, ATV riders in Mount Uniacke, vehicle daytime running light issues, usage of the rod and detachment, and parking of unused vehicles, and open hours of the Mount Uniacke and rod and detachments. Also, the Department of Justice training for all members. I confirm that the Department of Justice representatives will attend the next Police Advisory Committee meeting in May to provide training that will take approximately 1 hour. That brings me to the end of my report, and I move the adoption of this report.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary, motion is carried. Next, I would turn the chair over to the deputy warden and give the nominating committee's report.
Go ahead, Warden.
The nominating committee met earlier this evening to fill positions on the Municipal Housing Working Group. From that meeting, the following nominations or the following persons are coming forward. 3 members of council to serve on that committee, Councillor Sandra Garden-Cole, Councillor Eli Musa, and Councillor Carl McPhee. 2 members from the development community, Andrew Bone and Brad Ross. From the nonprofit housing community, Paul Mumbercat and Linda Wood, one from, I perhaps should be saying, CCOA and the Heart Society. From the East Hanson District Chambers of Commerce, Tracy Williams, and 1 citizen at large, Jacob White. So I would move these members be appointed to the committee.
Second. Moved by the warden, seconded by Councillor Perry. Any discussion on the motion? Question's been called. We'll go to the vote. Motion is passed by a vote of 9 to 1. Councillor Rhino voting nay. Turn the chair back to you, Warden.
Thank you, Deputy Warden. Well, that concludes our committee reports, so I would now turn the chair back over to the Deputy Warden to give my warden's report.
Hey, Warden.
Well, the warden's report is fairly short this month, although it seems like it's been a very busy month. But I did attend numerous events for the Rawdon Fire Department Winter Carnival, some of which were postponed to an alternate weekend due to the storm. And I would just say that I'm up to assist these volunteer groups however I can. I unsuccessfully entered a Jell-O and whipped cream pie eating contest. I did not win that contest. Unbeknownst to the MLA and the fire chief and myself, they also had pie to be auctioned with the winner of that pie to put it in the face of the pie eating contest entrants of their choice. So anyway, the fire department got $100 and I got a pie in the face. Anyway, much to the dismay of my grandchildren, my granddaughter barred the gentleman from their home indefinitely after he did that. She was very upset. Also, I did attend the fundraiser that was held in Knoll for Wyatt Sanford, who is going back to the Olympics again to represent Canada. And other than that, I've kind of semi-permanently moved into the municipal building along with the rest of council as we try to get through our budget. We seem to be doing meetings after meetings, and that's not a bad thing. The discussion has to be had, and we do it, but it certainly is taking some time this year. And I may have forgotten something, but that's all I have on my list for now, Deputy Warden.
Anybody have any questions for the warden on her report? Seeing none, I'll turn the chair back to you, Warden.
Thank you. That brings us to business from councilors. And I can't remember where I started last time. I'm going to start with, did I start there last time? Well, then I'll start with Councilor Rhino this time.
Thank you, Madam Warden. I'd just like to report that I attended Wyatt Sanford's fundraiser for the Olympics, as you had been mentioned previously. I also attended the regional championship and the basketball championship at Hants North Rural High. I'm pleased to report that Hants North Flames come out of that victorious, and they now host the high school Tier 3 basketball provincials this weekend at Hants North, starting Friday night. And if you're ever, in around the area, support would be appreciated. It's a lot of good basketball out there, and they've got some real good athletes. Come support our boys on, and we much appreciate it. That's all I have for right now. Thank you.
Counselor Garden-Cole.
Thank you, Madam Warden. Yes, I will concur that it's been a very busy month with budget meetings and hammering down the budget. So that's just what we expect this time of year, and I think we've definitely embraced it this year. I've had lots of conversation with residents of District 1 this past month, being that we had that epic snowstorm, so snow removal issues, and now with all the warm temperatures and concerns of flooding. So, Mother Nature is wreaking havoc a little bit, and yeah, we're doing the best we can. Just wanted to say that the CCOA new build here in the industrial park is really taking shape, and I encourage anyone to go up by and have a look. It's really coming together, and hopefully it will continue. There haven't been any big setbacks or anything that can happen in construction. So fingers crossed. We'll be looking to the fall. I may be cursing us, but for the new opening, and that is going to provide amazing opportunities for so many more people than the current build. So it's very exciting. And that's it from District 1. Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Mitchell.
Thank you, Madam Warden. You've received correspondence from our residents on Tannery Drive about snow issues and flooding, so I won't dwell on that anymore. On February the 9th, we had the sports specs had a Zoom meeting dealing with the financial report before they came into council. On February the 15th, the Equity and Community Wellness Committee for the NSFM met. The mandate is to take direction from the NSFM board dealing with any issue brought forth from the municipality. It goes to the board of directors, and they pass it on to whichever appropriate committee they think it's deemed necessary. On February the 18th and the 24th, I attended 2 celebrations of life for 2 longtime East Hants residents, both at the Nima River Community Hall. On February the 26th of this week, we had the Colchester East Hants Library Board met. This was our first in-person meeting since pre-COVID. The new executive director and chief librarian was present at my request, Jeff Mercer, so that we could meet him. And his plan is to get out to all the libraries and to also meet with councils going forward. I want to send out a special thank you to the recruitment team and to Tracy Dixon, Human Resources from the Municipality of East Hants, for her knowledge and experience helping out in the process. They have purchased the library has purchased 6 C pen readers, which reads text with a natural speaking voice, and there'll be 1 for each branch, and there'll be 2 at the branch in Truro. And the next library board meeting is on April the 23rd, and it could be a hybrid, or we haven't sure how that meeting will play out. I also want to thank Aaron Taylor and Jillian Cashin for their profile for African Heritage Month. Very honored and humbled to be asked for some details. The Elmsell Library has presented this African Heritage Month scavenger hunt booklet. First person in the booklet is Willie O'Ree, the first black hockey player in the National Hockey League, who just happens to be my uncle. And that's the end of my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Eisner.
Thank you, Madam Warden. Just dealing with the snow problems with my 2 dirt roads, understanding and dealing with the government on that was kind of interesting. Also dealing with a family that's sending their 2 kids to getting some funding from the municipality to go on sports. Mostly was just about the snow. That's about it.
also was dealing with, I just lost it here, but the E.H. Horn School. So I reached out, as they say, to Noranda, and they finally, well, we've just been back and forth. Some of it's been in French. And this last email's been half French, so, but they set up a Zoom meeting for, in a week's time from March. So that'll be interesting, see what they come up with. They want to partner up. They call it a partnership now from the, so it's kind of neat that E.H. Horn here, from a hometown from East Hants, that created that whole plant, the whole gold mining business and copper, very large. Quite a few thousand people work there. Anyway, so I'll let you know how that turns out. Thank you.
Interesting, thank you. Counselor Hebb.
Thank you, Warden. I just have one issue to bring up. A couple of days ago, I was contacted by the local ATV club, Fundy ATV, and a request for the municipality. And a few years ago, the Share the Road program came for off-road vehicles to use the shoulder of the road in designated areas. And in Walton was one of the ones, and it's been passed. All of them's been passed now. And since they've been passed, it opens the door up for other applications. They would like to put an application in for Kennecook, and as of the last few years, as you go into 354, before you get to Kennecook, about a kilometer out, a road comes out of a field there and it hits the road, and they have been driving down the shoulder, go in the gravel hour road, it's called, and then when they come out, they turn left and go down into the Kennecook to support the business that's there. That's you know, the restaurant and hardware store and gas station and pizza shop. And part of the criteria that they have to have permission from the landowner from which they exit there and where they enter there, and they'd be going on the DAR line. So where they come from is owned by Bragg's. They have got permission from Bragg's to use that property and to exit there. And where they go into the DAR line, the first section of the line is used basically by the Kennecook Fire Department. And past that is about 300 meters. It's called the Dwyer Road, which is used to go up onto a lot of Crown land up there. And they're asking permission to use that section of road so that they can have permission to apply for the Ride to Shoulder program. And I've presented a motion here to present to council. Move that the municipality grant permission for the Fundy ATV Club to use 1 kilometer section of the former DAR line, PID 452-25190, from Highway 354 in Kennecook, south to the Dwyer Road, to allow the club to continue their application to the province of part of the Share the Road ATV project. If successful with the obtaining provincial approval, direct staff to enter into a license agreement outlining club responsibilities for the use of that 1 kilometer section.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? If not, could I just have some leeway? I just have a quick question. Mm-hmm. With this application, I don't know what all, it doesn't really affect our part of it, but there would be consultation with folks who might live, I know you mentioned the Hour Road and the Dwyer. If there were people living on those roads, would they be consulted as a part of the application process?
What they're trying to do is do away with the Hour Road.
Okay.
When they come out, they go right down 354, right to
Okay.
Kennecook. That was part of the reason for this, so,
Thank you.
yeah, you're welcome.
Any further discussion? Yeah.
Question.
Question has been called. And the motion is passed unanimously.
That's all. Thank you, Warden.
Counselor McPhee. Did click it.
Thank you, Warden. First of all, I'd like to thank the council for supporting the maintenance of the parking lot in Shubenacadie. That's going to be very appreciated by the people in the area. Also, on February 5th, I attended a meeting of the Heydays Committee for Shubenacadie, and we're starting to get that together for July 1st, which is only a few months away. And we're still looking for anybody with good ideas that would like to join. I hope some people are listening from District 4 and might take up the call, or any district as far as that goes. We're looking for some volunteers, some with some new ideas, so we can enhance the whole experience for everybody. And other than the budget meetings, which have been keeping all of us busy, that's pretty well it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Warden.
Thank you, Warden. Had the pleasure of delivering a 94th birthday certificate to Aline Cox. And on Saturday, I was down to Municipal with a 70th anniversary celebration for Chesley and Doris Singer. Chesley is a Korean veteran. They both still live in their own house on the Singer Road, and you won't find a nicer couple to go in and have a talk with than those two. And that's all I have to report.
Counselor Perry.
Thank you, Madam Warden. Had the opportunity, myself and Councilor Musa, to sit down with the fire hall, going over their budget and seeing what they have planned for the future. And there's some pretty big plans and big changes that are going to happen in our community in the next little while. Also attended the library board meeting in Truro the other night, meeting the new chief librarian and chief executive officer. I think the library is, from all indications, is going to be in good hands, and it's going to be continuing on upward and outward with programming and providing support to our communities. I also attended a stakeholder workshop on the Nova Scotia electric vehicles and charging strategy. It was very interesting to get the perspective of different people from all over the province about the accessibility of charging stations and the ability to adopt switching to an electric fleet. There definitely was there's a long way to go before we can really depend on electric vehicles as our everyday transport, especially for the transportation of goods. That was one of the biggest ones that came out of that, was transportation of goods was going to be very difficult in the short term. But it was definitely lots of great talk and lots of great ideas, and I believe they're going to come out with another session later on in the year. Snow and safety, we've had a couple of major snow events, but now we're coming here at the end of February. Going to be pushing on. Hopefully, spring is supposed to come early, and Shubenacadie Sam can come out of the witness protection program after the snowstorms, and we'll be on our way to summer, spring and summer. So hopefully that'll be good. It's great to see that the lights in the business park that were out have been repaired. I went by the other night and they're all lit up, which is great. And the last thing I have is that there's going to be a town hall with the Member of Parliament, Cody Blois, on March 13th at 6:30 p.m. at the Uniacke Legion, branch 165. He'll be there to answer questions from the public about what's going on, how they're feeling. It's the first town hall he's held in our community. So be interested to see how the turnout is and what happens there. Other than that, that's it for me. Thank you.
Counselor Musa.
Thank you, Madam Warden. Councilor Perry actually didn't leave me anything about the business, but the community of Mount Uniacke have lost a very, very good volunteer, like one of the best in the area, and a good friend, very good friend of mine. So it's a big loss for the whole community. And Donald Hartland was a teacher, and his wife was a teacher too, and they were doing about 400 boxes of cookie to keep the Catholic Church going until they sold it on them. He's the one who does the Wish Giver Supper every year, him and his wife. And if you remember the volunteer award, he was him and his wife who done all the cooking there. So it's a great loss for our community, and I don't know if it can. It's hard. And on a business side, I've been receiving a lot of emails from Cottage Country about the collection of garbage collection, and I know the problem. I know what the problem is. Those private driveways that are not up to standard, and we cannot blame the garbage collector not to go up because it's not safe. So I'm hoping that in the next development we're gonna tackle all those and not allow anything less than a standard, even a private driveway or a private road or anything. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes our business from counselors. And we do still have time on the agenda, so as was amended, I would be looking for a motion to go in camera to discuss contractual issue. Moved by the deputy warden, seconded by Councillor Perry. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary, motion carried. We'll give staff time. That concludes the business of our agenda. I would be looking for a motion to set the date and the time of the next council meetings. March 19th, 2024, regular meeting of council for policy and in camera, and March 27th for the regular meeting of council.
So moved.
Moved by the deputy warden, seconded by Councilor Hebb. All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary, motion is carried. I would now be looking for a motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary minded. We are adjourned. Folks, give staff time.